In the last video, we discovered that scientists can estimate not just how many years you have been alive, but also how old your body appears to be biologically. Imagine two people who are both 60 years old, same birthday, yet one person's body may resemble that of a typical 50-year-old, while the others resemble someone closer to 70. This is known as biological age. As we discussed in the last video, researchers can estimate biological age by analyzing tiny chemical marks on our DNA known as DNA methylation using tools called epigenetic clocks. In large human studies, these DNA methylation patterns are most often measured from blood samples simply because blood is relatively easy to collect. However, similar analysis can also be performed using DNA from other tissues. But why does biological age actually matter? These epigenetic clocks don't simply reflect the passage of time, they capture patterns of DNA methylation that change with age and in some cases with our overall biology. And those measurements turn out to be linked with our health in meaningful ways. Large studies have shown that people whose biological age is older than their actual age often have a higher risk of developing chronic diseases, experience poor physical function as they grow older, and are even more likely to die earlier than expected. On the other hand, people whose biological age appears younger than their chronological age often remain healthier for longer. So, biological age gives us a much better picture of how well our body is aging, not simply how many years we have been alive. But that naturally raises another fascinating question. If scientists can now measure biological age, what actually influences it? Could our everyday lifestyle choices make a measurable difference? More specifically, could something as ordinary as the food we eat influence how fast we biologically age? One reason diet has become such an interesting area of research is that it's one of the few factors we can modify every single day. If changing what we eat could even slightly influence biological aging, it could have important implications for healthy aging. That's exactly the question researchers set out to investigate. But how do you actually answer a question like this? Ideally, you would ask people to change what they eat, then measure whether their biological age changes over time. That's exactly the question Anat Yaskolka-Meir and colleagues set out to answer. The researchers recruited 256 adults with abdominal obesity or abnormal blood lipid levels and randomly assigned them to follow one of the three different diets for 18 months. Group 1 received general healthy eating guidelines. Group 2 followed a calorie controlled Mediterranean diet. This is a dietary pattern rich in foods such as vegetables, fruits, whole grains, olive oil, and nuts. They were also asked to eat 28 grams of walnuts every day. Group 3 followed what the researchers called a green Mediterranean diet. It was based on the same Mediterranean diet but with less red and processed meat. Participants also drank 3 to 4 cups of green tea every day and consumed a green plant shake made from a plant called menkai. These foods weren't chosen at random. They were selected because they are naturally rich in polyphenols. Polyphenols are naturally occurring compounds found in many plant foods. Earlier laboratory studies suggested that some of these compounds may influence DNA methylation and other biological processes involved in aging. We'll come back to polyphenols later in the video. So, what happened after 18 months? Participants who adhered more closely to the green Mediterranean diet tended to show more favorable changes in biological age, particularly according to the Lee and Hannum epigenetic clocks. Importantly, this wasn't simply because some people lost more weight. The association remained even after the researchers accounted for weight loss and other important factors. They then looked at individual foods. Green tea showed the strongest association with a lower biological age, while menkai showed a similar though weaker trend. Overall, people following either Mediterranean style diet ended the study with a biological age that was, on average, about 9 months younger than expected according to the Lee epigenetic clock. But one important question still remained. If a healthy diet seems to matter, which foods matter most? To investigate this, Jamie Villanueva and colleagues analyzed data from an earlier diet and lifestyle intervention. Instead of looking at the diet as a whole, they analyzed it one food at a time to see which foods were most strongly associated with biological age. And something immediately stood out. The foods most consistently linked with a lower biological age all belonged to the same broad family. They were foods naturally rich in polyphenols. These included green tea, oolong tea, garlic, turmeric, rosemary, and berries. Although these foods are very different, they all contain different types of naturally occurring polyphenols. Once again, participants who consumed these foods more frequently tended to show greater slowing of biological aging. Importantly, this association remained even after taking into account differences in body weight and participants' biological age at the start of the study. So, what exactly are polyphenols? Polyphenols are naturally occurring compounds found in many plant foods, fruits, vegetables, herbs, tea, cocoa, coffee, nuts, and not all polyphenols are the same. The compounds found in green tea are different from those found in berries, which are again different from those found in herbs like rosemary or spices like turmeric. But despite these differences, many have been studied because laboratory studies suggest that they may influence biological processes involved in healthy aging, including inflammation, oxidative stress, the gut microbiome, and even DNA methylation. This may also help explain why diets naturally rich in polyphenol containing foods have been linked with better cardiovascular health, healthier aging, and potentially even better brain health. While these findings don't always prove cause and effect, they suggest that these plant compounds may contribute to health in many different ways. So, can the food we eat influence our biological age? Based on the evidence we have looked at, it is certainly pointing in that direction. But perhaps the biggest message isn't about finding one miracle food, it's about the overall pattern. Diets rich in minimally processed plant foods, particularly those naturally rich in polyphenols, appear to be associated with healthier biological aging. So, the choices we make at the dinner table today may leave measurable marks on our biology tomorrow.